Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Language of Leadership. I'm your host, Chuck Marting. There's been a lot going on in the last couple of weeks. I've been on several speaking engagements. I've also gone to my own mastermind and our biannual meeting that we have in Nashville. And it was great getting around other leaders, being able to be motivated, to be able to pour into other people. And there was a lot of things that I started thinking about, especially for this week's episode of The Language of Leadership, that is a direct result of all the traveling that I've done, a lot of the speaking that I've had, and a lot of conversations that I've had. And one of the books that we started to talk about was David L. Cook's book, Greatness. Now, this week, what I wanted to do is that we kind of skipped into the second pillar. We didn't start with the first. And what I think is really important, and to do this book justice, is to go back and start with that first pillar and talk about it for a little bit. So this episode isn't going to be as long as some of the other episodes that we've had with the language of leadership, but this is still a very critical part of this book, and also in my thoughts on this and what I've seen in my own leadership and in talking to other leaders in this last couple of weeks, that made it very apparent that I needed to come back and go back and revisit and put this first portion or this first pillar into perspective for you so that we can understand this book. And I don't want to diminish from this book at all. If you haven't had a chance to read the book Greatness, I would highly encourage getting this book and reading it. You won't be disappointed. It's a great book. It's one of my top 5 that I recommend to people to read, especially if they're in leadership, because I think there's so many very inspiring elements within that book that is just a must read. So now, when we talk specifically about focus, we're diving into a crucial aspect that can sometimes get overlooked. And so when we talk about this, I love the chapter heading that David L. Cook has, and that is, where do you want to go? And to me, that is a big question mark for a lot of us as leaders, is where do we eventually want this to end? What is the end game in this? Where do we want to be? And sometimes it can be posed even deceptively. Even like within this book, I felt that this first pillar was a little deceptively, but yet profound. And I say that because the profound question that was within this chapter was this question: can you give more than 100%? You've often heard this, and it's a question that challenges the very notion of what total commitment is. And it also challenges our own understanding, even our personal and professional thoughts on 100%. Is it 100% of your commitment, 100% of your time? Can you give more than that? And often we hear people casually claim that they're giving more than 100%, or perhaps they're even holding back from reaching that 100% intentionally. Now, when we start attaching percentages to our efforts, it sometimes seems that we're doing so as though to quantify our dedication. And, this chapter in this book made me reflect on my own life commitments, my drive that I've had, and how sometimes, despite my best intentions, that drive has waned. Now, in David L. Cook's study in this chapter, he investigates whether our focus, or one's focus and commitment, can indeed surpass our own expectations. And I think it was very fascinating to see this idea of more than 100% being not just a theoretical question, but a practical exploration into what motivates us, what drives us, what can happen with that drive and that motivation in achieving not only 100%, but even beyond that. You know, in my own career, I've seen this play out initially in high commitments that sometimes taper off. Now, remember, when you first start a job, everything feels new and exciting. And you compare that to maybe the 6 month mark. What changes? It's not just the novelty of wearing off, but also the impact of the environment and also the influence of peers. Now, this observation has led me to believe that maintaining high levels of focus and commitment involves more than just individual effort. So, how can leaders help maintain this focused drive in their team? Visionary leaders, the path to your greatness begins here. Introducing the Alliance Mastermind Group, a sanctuary designed to amplify your leadership potential and turn your dreams into achievements. Inspired by the mastermind philosophy of Napoleon Hill, imagine a dynamic circle of tenacious minds, all committed to helping you reach your goals. In the Alliance Mastermind Group, leadership isn't just a title. It's an active journey towards the realization of your vision. You know, throughout history, mastermind groups have propelled leaders to new heights. Now, we're extending an invitation for you to experience this transformational power. At the Alliance Mastermind Group, leadership isn't just a concept. It's a dedication to each member's success. Our unique approach includes expert training sessions tailored to amplify your leadership skills. Now, this isn't just a group. It's like having your own executive board invested in your progress and your success. Imagine having a team where every member is genuinely interested in seeing your achievements and your goals reached. Or are you ready to take the first step? Apply now using the link in the description of this video and secure your place among the 10 leaders destined to be extraordinary in their success. The Alliance Mastermind Group, where leadership dreams take flight. Your vision, our commitment. Apply now. I've identified 3 crucial elements: praise, active listening, and communication. And I want to start with praise. Now, praise is more than just mere acknowledgement. It's an effective praise that recognizes specific contributions. And then we can link it to even broader goals of our organizations and reinforce the value of hard work. Praise can motivate, it can help keep people enthused, and it helps them to justify and feel that they are part of the solution or part of the answer in what they are doing. That praise sometimes is just the motivation that someone needs to continue to produce and to be able to go down that path that they're on, feeling supported and acknowledged and needed. Now, you need to understand that praise is hard work. We're reinforcing that and we're helping people understand the importance of it. So recognize praise, that it's a needed element and it's something that's crucial in helping to get and maintain that commitment from our team. The other thing that I'm talking about is the second part of this, which is the active listening. And we've talked about active listening before here on the language of leadership and how crucial that is and what it means to be an active listener. So this involves truly hearing what team members say without rushing to respond or even to judge. It's about understanding your team's concerns, their hopes, and their frustrations, which can inform on how to address potential demotivators. We'll understand if we listen to what they're saying. And I want to emphasize, remember when we're listening, especially with active listening, are you as a leader listening to respond, or are you hearing what the individual is saying so then you can respond? Remember, we need to listen. That's the biggest thing that our team is wanting, is that acknowledgement that feeling of being needed and valued. And the way you do that is by listening. And sometimes it's hard, especially for me, because sometimes I have felt that I'm trying to solve this issue for that person without giving them the respect and the attention that they deserve by hearing them out. Okay. Am I judging them by doing that? Yeah, sometimes I am. And I've had to turn that back around to that act of listening and learning about it. And I have found that if I just give that person that attention and I listen to hear them, that when I do respond, it's more thoughtful, it's more insightful, and it a lot of times is exactly what that individual needed, or even being able to open up doors and being able to help them see something that they probably didn't know or even recognize in that journey that they're in at the time. Remember, a lot of times it's a lot harder to read the label when you're inside the bottle. And that is what active listening is recognizing and seeing things that other people may not recognize because of the situation that they're in. And that's what we can do. The third element that I've come up with is that communication. It's the linchpin of team dynamics. Effective communication is going to ensure open two-way dialogue between you and your team. Now, creating a space where thoughts and challenges can be shared freely is the biggest thing. A lot of team members don't feel that they have that ability to do so without being disciplined or even being marked as a troublemaker or somebody who's trying to stir the pot. That's the hesitancy with a lot of these individuals not wanting to come forth and communicate with us, is they're afraid of that ridicule that they're going to get or the lack of support they're going to get from us as leaders. So that creating an area of safe space for communication where people can express their thoughts, address their challenges, and be able to freely build on that trust and have engagement is crucial. So these three elements are something that we as leaders really need to work on in our focus in that pillar of communication. So if you implement these strategies through regular, meaningful one-on-one meetings, okay, discuss not just work progress, but encourage open conversations with your team members, sharing experiences and challenges. Those interactions are opportunities for personalized praise, deep listening, and fostering a transparent communicational culture within your team. Now, in conclusion, on this week's episode of The Language of Leadership, I want to help you in understanding that maintaining focus isn't merely just about striving for 100% of that all the time, but it's nurturing an environment where such focus can flourish. Now, David L. Cook challenges us to think beyond conventional limits. Can we indeed give more than 100%? It's not just a question of possibility, but of creating the right conditions for exceptional effort. Now, I want to thank you for joining me this week on this episode of Language of Leadership. Please share the show with other people. Get the word out to some of our leaders out there who desperately need to be able to be challenged in their thoughts and their thinking and how they're leading their teams. I hope these insights inspire you to help and even help you to reflect on how you can lead with focus and foster greatness in your teams. So join me next week as we uncover another dimension of effective leadership. But until then, lead with passion and with purpose. Take care.